Alright, bro. Listen, I need everyone to lock in for this one, because this situation right here, this is not just internet drama. This is not just another toxic couple moment. This is a full-blown emotional collapse happening in real time, and we're all just watching it play out on our phones. And if you thought the Blueface and Chrisean Rock saga was finally dying down, yeah. Nah. The universe said one more season, and this one might be the wildest yet. Because the moment Chrisean Rock finally sits down and starts removing the Blueface face tattoo, the tattoo that literally defined her entire public image for years, Blueface completely loses it. And I don't mean quiet frustration. I mean rage, shade, ego spirals, and textbook crash-out behavior. So today we're breaking down everything. How we got here, why this tattoo removal hit Blueface so hard, what he did after it went viral, why the internet is finally switching sides, and why this moment feels different from every other time they've broken up. Trust me when I say this, the tattoo removal wasn't just ink coming off skin, it was power shifting. And once you see how Blueface reacted to losing that power, everything clicks. Alright, let's start from the beginning, because you cannot understand why Blueface is raging unless you understand what that tattoo meant. When Chrisean Rock first got Blueface's face tattooed on her cheek, it wasn't just shocking, it was unprecedented. We've seen name tattoos, we've seen initials, but a full portrait on the face? That's extreme. And the internet reacted exactly how you'd expect. Half the people were like, "This is insane." The other half were like, "She's in love." And a good portion were like, "This girl needs help." But Blueface, he loved it. Let's be honest. That tattoo made him look powerful. It made him look like the prize, like the guy women would literally destroy themselves over. And for someone like Blueface, whose brand is ego, dominance, and control, that was everything. Because from that point on, Chrisean's entire identity online was tied to him. Every interview, every live, every headline, Blueface's girlfriend, Blueface's ex, Blueface's baby mama, and the tattoo made it impossible to separate the two. Now fast forward to now. Chrisean shows up on Instagram Live, sitting in a laser tattoo removal clinic. No big announcement, no dramatic speech, just goggles on, chair reclined, laser ready. And immediately, you can tell something is off. She's shaking. She keeps saying she's about to cry. She looks scared. Not in a dramatic way, in a real way. The kind of fear where you don't know if you're ready to let go of something that's been part of you for so long. The technician asks if she wants numbing cream. She says no. They ask if she wants to start with a smaller tattoo. She says no. She says, "Start with the big one." That line right there, that's not random. That's symbolic. She wants the hardest part first. She doesn't want to ease into it. She doesn't want a soft exit. She wants it ripped off. And when the laser starts, bro, she loses it. She's screaming. She's calling on Jesus. She's gripping hands. She's crying. At one point, she literally says, "That's what I get." And that line hits different because that's regret. That's reflection. That's pain that's been building for years, finally coming out. And thousands of people are watching this live. Not a polished edit, not a PR clip, raw emotion. Now here's where the entire situation flips. Because normally, Chrisean is the one being clowned. She's the one people say is doing too much. She's the one being called crazy, obsessed, unstable. But in this moment, people felt bad for her. The comments changed. The tone changed. People started saying, "Damn, this is sad. This actually hurts to watch. She's really going through it." And that sympathy, that's what triggered Blueface. Because the moment the internet stopped laughing and started empathizing, the power dynamic shifted. And Blueface noticed immediately. Within hours of clips going viral, Blueface starts reacting, posting, liking shady stuff, making slick comments, acting like he doesn't care while clearly caring a lot. And this is where things get nasty. Because instead of letting Chrisean have her moment, Blueface makes it about himself. He starts flexing that other women have his name tattooed on them. Like that somehow cancels out the fact that Chrisean is literally erasing him from her face. He starts moving like, "See, I still got it. I'm still that guy. She's not special." But the internet saw right through it. Because when someone truly doesn't care, they don't react like this. This wasn't indifference, this was insecurity, and here's why. For years, Chrisean being visibly attached to Blueface made him look superior. It fed his ego. It validated his power. But now, she's publicly detaching, and not quietly, painfully, symbolically, irreversibly, and that scares him. Now let's talk about the irony here, because it's insane. Blueface actually has Chrisean's name tattooed on his face. He got it while he was locked up. So think about this for a second. She's removing his face. He's still wearing her name. And instead of acknowledging that contradiction, he lashes out. Because deep down, he knows how this looks. She looks like she's moving on. He looks stuck. And for someone who thrives on being the one in control, that's a nightmare. Now let's zoom out and talk about the relationship as a whole. This was never just a normal relationship. This was content from day one. They met through Blue Girls Club, which was already a chaotic environment designed for drama, fighting, clout, attention. Chrisean stood out because she was emotional, reactive, unpredictable, and Blueface saw dollar signs. Their arguments became episodes. Their breakups became storylines, their trauma became monetized, and the audience rewarded it. Every meltdown went viral, every fight trended, every reconciliation got clicks. But here's the thing about trauma bonding in front of millions of people. It doesn't disappear when the cameras stop. The damage is real. Chrisean has talked about drinking, about feeling lost, about heartbreak, about feeling used. Blueface has talked about money, control, leverage. And this tattoo removal feels like the first time Chrisean is choosing herself without making it about drama. She didn't diss him. She didn't expose him. She didn't rant. She just removed him. And that silence is loud. Now let's talk about Blueface's rage specifically. Because it wasn't just one post, it was a pattern. He kept inserting himself back into the conversation, making sure his name stayed attached to the story. And the more he did that, the worse it looked. Because the narrative became clear. Chrisean is healing, Blueface is spiraling. And people who used to defend him started questioning his behavior. Why does he care so much? Why does he keep responding? Why can't he let her move on? And those questions hurt more than any diss. Now here's where things get darker. Because this isn't just about a breakup. There's a child involved, public scrutiny, mental health conversations, accusations, speculation. And while Chrisean is clearly flawed, this moment showed vulnerability in a way we hadn't seen before. She wasn't performing. She wasn't clout chasing. She was in pain. And instead of respecting that, Blueface turned it into another ego battle, which made people lose patience. Because at some point, chaos stops being entertaining. It becomes exhausting. Now let's talk about what happens next, because this tattoo removal opens doors that can't be closed. Once she removes his face, she removes the visual tie that kept her linked to him in every clip, every screenshot, every headline. She gets her identity back, and that threatens Blueface's relevance in her story, which is why he's reacting so strongly. Because if Chrisean truly moves on, not just publicly, but emotionally, Blueface loses one of his biggest storylines, and that's scary. Now, does this mean Chrisean is suddenly healed? No. Does it mean she won't spiral again? We don't know. But this is the first action that actually aligns with growth, and actions matter more than words. Now here's the real question. Is Blueface raging because he loves her, or is he raging because he lost control? Because those are two very different things. And judging by his reaction, it looks a lot more like the second one. Because love would be quiet, love would be reflective, love would be respectful. This wasn't that. This was ego bleeding out in real time, and the internet sees it. Now let me ask you this. If roles were reversed, if Blueface removed a Chrisean tattoo while crying on live, do you think she would have reacted the same way? Probably not. She would have been loud, emotional, but supportive, and that difference says a lot. Now before I wrap this up, I want to make one thing clear. This isn't about hating Blueface. This isn't about glorifying Chrisean. This is about recognizing patterns. And this pattern, it's clear. Blueface thrives when Chrisean looks attached. He rages when she detaches. And that tells you everything you need to know. So yeah, Blueface raging after the tattoo removal wasn't surprising, but it was revealing. Because sometimes, the loudest reactions come from the deepest insecurities. And sometimes, the most powerful move is silent growth. And before we wrap this up, there's one more angle we haven't really talked about yet. And honestly, this might be the most uncomfortable part of the entire situation. Because this tattoo removal didn't just embarrass Blueface. It exposed something deeper about how this whole relationship actually functioned. For a long time, Chrisean being visibly attached to Blueface worked in his favor. Every meltdown, every tattoo, every emotional moment reinforced the idea that he was the center of her world. And whether people want to admit it or not, that kind of dynamic creates leverage. It creates a power imbalance where one person is always chasing and the other person is always being chased. And the crazy part is, that imbalance didn't just exist privately, it existed publicly. Millions of people watched it, commented on it, reacted to it. And over time, that public perception becomes part of the relationship itself. So when Chrisean sat in that chair and started erasing his face, she wasn't just removing ink. She was undoing years of narrative, years of internet memory, years of people associating her identity with his name. And that's why Blueface's reaction felt so visceral. Because once that tattoo fades, there's no visual reminder tying her to him, no permanent mark proving loyalty, no symbol he can point to and say, see, she's mine. That's a loss of control. And people underestimate how triggering that can be for someone who's used to being the one with leverage. You could hear it in his tone. You could see it in the way he posted. The energy wasn't, I'm unbothered. It was, I'm trying to remind everyone who I am. And the irony is, the harder he tried to reassert himself, the smaller he looked. Let me know what you think. Do you think Blueface is actually hurt? Do you think Chrisean is genuinely changing? Or do you think this is just another chapter in an endless loop? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Because knowing this situation This definitely isn't over yet. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.